morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you here this morning to our webinar. We're going to be doing NetDMR and Operator10 Solution. Just to kind of let you know what we are doing. First of all, my name's BJ Yoder. I will be your instructor and host today. A little bit about myself for those of you that I have not talked to in the past. I have been with AllMax off and on for the last going on 20 years. My background is wastewater treatment, and I've been in the wastewater industry. This year will make 35 years. So done everything from being an operator to a superintendent. So covered all aspects. So I've covered the reporting aspects that are needed in the state of Ohio, but also have worked very closely with our team and with clients to get their NetDMR set up. So what we're going to do today is we're going to cover specifically NetDMR. I know several of you do not currently use NetDMR in the Operator 10 program. There are some states that I know are here that this is how it's going. I know of one state that they're in the process of getting to NetDMR. So what NetDMR is, it is a program that is used by several states. Probably the majority of the states use NetDMR for their monthly reporting. In the past, what would be done is you would create a DMR, and when you'd create your DMR, you'd print it out and then you'd go and submit it electronically to your clients, I mean to your state. You would actually go and have to email it or whatever. So what we actually do is inside the program, we have worked with the NetDMR system. We, as a developer, have been able to go and create formatting ideas of how to go and look at the report, actually being able to submit the report itself. So with that means there are several setup things that have to take place. For example, one of the things that we have to look at is when you submit and you're using NetDMR and you submit NetDMR, one of the things that you end up with is you get a copy that you're able to get and download and save to your computer. This is what it would look like. This is a partial of a record. It shows every parameter that you have on the NetDMR submittal that you're required to submit. What happens is your state goes and they go submit the setup information of what your permit is. That's what shows up on your list. So depending on what month it is, you may have additional things. So if you're doing a quarterly DMR, for example, you may end up having that toxicity samples that you have to do. And maybe during the summer months, depending on where you're located at, you may have fecal or E. coli that you have to do where the rest of the time you don't. So it is very important that when you're setting up NetDMR inside the program that you get this copy first. And again, this is something that when you do your submittal normally, that you can go and you can save a copy of your submitted time. One of the things that we always do for clients when we're doing a setup work for a client is we make sure we have an entire year's worth of NetDMR records, so one for every month. That gives us the ability to verify that nothing is different from month to month. And if there is, that we can address that. Maybe there's a permit limit that's different. Maybe there's, again, what you're sampling for. But this will all show up in this copy of record that you get when you submit on the NetDMR system. And this is very useful, and I'll show you this as we go through on how things is. Again, it's going to show all your pertinent information, basically all the information I have blacked out, like who you're with and things along that line, contact information. But it also shows you the list of all parameters and everything that you are sampling for. So with that being said, what we're doing, and in this case here, we're going to go through and we're going to go and create a DMR. And I'm going to show one from scratch on how to do it. In Operator 10, one of the things that we do most of the times in Operator 10 is we have the ability to, by state, will have which ones are NetDMR and which ones are not. Now, with the ability of these coming on, more states being added to the NetDMR system, we may not get that option ability to add that right away. So we have some options that you can do to make sure. All states have the ability to create a NetDMR file. Okay. And what that does is it allows you to go in, and when you go in and you create a new one, by your state, it will actually go in and it will allow you to um, see what information is there. Okay, so we are able to go in and create a NetDMR based on the information. So if your state does have it, so for example, let's say Ohio, for example. Here in Ohio, we do not use NetDMR, okay, as of yet. Now, not saying that's not going to happen or that it will happen, but as of right now, we do not have NetDMR. So when you create a brand new report and you look in here, you will see what reports you have available. If you do not have a DMR, such as if we go to Georgia, for example, because that's a good example here, I just got to find him. We go to Georgia, it shows Georgia DMR. In Georgia, their DMRs are set for NetDMR. One of the other things we did, and just to let you know, even with reporting, each state has their own ability. Maybe some of them have special rules. Colorado, for example, there are some special rules that we have built into the DMR, so that you're able to get certain things done based on that. Now, if you do not have a DMR in here, like Ohio, and let's say Ohio goes in, and Ohio goes and says, "Hey, we want you to start doing NetDMR." Well, it's very simple. We also have the ability down here at the bottom where we can create a NetDMR form. Okay, it doesn't have a state specific, so there would be no state specific rules to it. So like if it was Colorado, for example, we don't have state specific, but a general NetDMR setup is easily done just by creating a new report and clicking on the NetDMR down at the bottom. Okay, so when we go and we create that and we save that report, what it does is it brings in a form that looks like this. This is our basic setup on all our reports. All our reports in the reporting section allow you to go in and dive into the information and to see what information we have, okay? And this is how the setup works. So in the setup of the NetDMR, one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to put in all your name and address and all that type of information. So we can come in here and we can put in city of AllMax is what we'll put in. We can put the address, the permit number, discharge number. So whatever you're basically what we're doing is we're going to define what is on this sheet here. Okay, so we're discharge number, we'll put in 001. Whatever our permit number is, we can put that in. You don't have to worry about technically in this one, what it is the permit feature is 001. The actual discharge number in this case would 001-1. Okay, so we're wanting to be able to go in and that in. So we would put -1. Okay, we want this to match. We need all this information to match because of when we submit. And when we get through the process, I'll show you how that works. But by doing that and by having this information in here, the main concern thing is the permit number and the discharge number. Those are the two most important because that's what in the file recognizes things when you upload a file to the NetDMR system. And again, we'll talk about that here in a second. You're also going to set in some default things. So for example, number of months. If this is a monthly one, you're going to do a monthly. If it's quarterly, you set it as a quarterly or 6 months. Now, one of the things, remember, if you're using a multi-month scenario, when you do run that report, you run the report from the start of that 6 months period. So if it is a 6 months, so it's January through June, you would start with January as the start date when you'd fetch your data. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and but we're going to just do a single 1 month one. You can put your title information. This is not important for submittal, but if you want to print out a hard copy, then this information, the information here besides the permit number and discharge number, that is important information to have. Okay, so once we have that information set up, the next thing is we're going to add location parameters to the report. Now, one of the things that used to happen years ago in our reporting system, you had to go and add a separate page once you got to, say, 7 LPs. I think it's 7. Yeah. Once you got to 7 LPs, you had to create a new page. Now in our system, we do not require that anymore. Okay. So you could add, well, for example, I did one for a client, and it was their annual metal thing report. I actually had a 96 LPs on one report is basically what it shows. Now, how that works is if you were to go to do a printed copy, it would actually take that 96 divided by 7, and it would print out that many pages. Okay. But for the report to be uploaded electronically, it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. Now, another thing to remember is the order in which you put LPs on this page technically is not relevant. It doesn't have to match this, okay? I like to do it that way. That way I can verify data as well. But if you don't, it's not a big deal. So for example, let's say you're doing it, the NetDMR is working fine. Your state comes back and they give you in a new permit, they go and say, hey, you need to start testing this and we need to add it to the NetDMR. Well, say it's right in the middle of the list. No big deal. If you put it at the end, it's not a big deal. It will, when you upload the file, it'll actually put it where it needs to be. So it's not as important. I like to go and keep them in order because number one, I can verify what I'm doing right at the same time. Okay. So when we go in to add it, first what we're going to do is we're going to do the FLP definition and we're going to hit add. All right. When we hit add, we're going to go and we're going to do it based on what we've got. So the first thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add flow because that was the first one that we looked at when we looked at our thing. The first one we have is our flow rate right here. So when we go and we do flow, I'm going to select flow. All right. So when I hit OK here, this allows me to go and add that in here. Now, here's a little trick for you. What you can do here under header, you can type whatever you in here. This is irrelevant, okay? But it's irrelevant from the standpoint of what is here unless you're printing it out, okay? If you want to just put effluent flow, you can do so. Now, if you want to go and put in the information that is what it's basically on your DMR, and again, this would be similar to what's on the older DMRs. You can come up here and we can grab it, flow, and we grab that effluent flow, and it'll put that information in here, okay? So now, to understand some of this information, so that we have this information here, what it shows in here is the exact same thing that is here. It's just broke down a little bit. For example, we have a storage code number, okay? We have a flow rate. We have a monitoring location. This particular state, for some reason, does not use the million gallons a day parameter storage code, but that's just how the state is. So we have this here, we have effluent gross. So, but the important thing when you're doing NetDMR, and again, if you currently have DMR set up and you're switching to NetDMR, these are the things that are going to have to be defined. And under the location parameter, under the first column, you're going to want to define this electronic reporting information. So in this case here, I'm using 50050, and it asks for a monitoring type, okay? Which is the monitoring location code, which in this case would be 1. So if we look back at our image again, our picture of our thing, right here, this is where you're getting that. That's the number 1, okay? Now, if there is a season number, a season code, that's that next column here, and I'll show you that here real quick. If you're doing a season code and it is specific for a given month, you can set it to what it is. So if it is a 0, you can do so. Most likely this is not going to be changed. If there is a parameter that you, let's say you've had it on your permit, but now you no longer have to discharge for it, but it's still in your NetDMR, you can come in here and you can put a NODI code, which is whatever you need to do. And you can put that in there. Not a necessity, okay? But this gives you, this electronic reporting thing section is the most important thing that you have to set up. So if you do have your, let's say you're in Georgia and you have your DMR set up and you haven't done NetDMR yet, you can come in and edit your report and you can go in and change this and just add this information here. And again, it's what's going to match that other report. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up what we need to see. So when we go back to our report for like flow, for example, we need to see the monthly average and the daily max. All right. So we're on this first column here. So I can come in here and I can grab the average. I can say it's a value because it's not that. There is no permit limit. It's a required monitoring on both of those. So we can just come in here and we say REQMON, which is what it's on the other one, and it's the monthly average. Again, you're trying to match what's there. And then you'll go on and you'll continue this process, okay? So when we come in here and we're like the daily max, we're going to go and grab maximum and a value, and it's just required monitoring. Oops. All right, and it's daily max. Now, the next thing you have to do is the units columns. And again, this is important, especially for it, because we have this electronic reporting code. So if you use from our checklist, so we're going to find, and we do the drop down, and we go in and we find million gallons a day, which is number 303. It throws that unit code in here. That is very important. Again, the idea is to make sure that that is there. So, and if you look at your sheet, it tells you right here when you're looking at your copy of record, it tells you that 03 is what you're using. Okay. Next, what you're going to do, so on flow, that's all we have to do. So we can go over here to the reporting frequencies and type. Again, we're going to match what they have. So we have a 999 continuous, and we're using a TM, which is totalizer. So how we do that is we go, this is a 999. So if we look in here, there's one in here. If we just go down and find it, 999. You don't have to have the word continuous because it's irrelevant for the electronic. And then our sample type is a TM. And we just put the same thing in here. Now, as you notice, when we do this, it adds that type right here for electronic, right? So when we go and do this, and then at this point, this one's done, we can go and we can add a new one. So we can do the same thing with BOD. Whoops, sorry, wrong spot. BOD, effluent BOD, 5-day. We can go in and put this information in. We're doing BOD. And in that case, if you can't find it, you can always look that up, BOD 5-day, and we can select it. It's 00310 is our parameter, and it is station code 1. Then we continue with things. So if you had loadings, you would be able to put loadings in here. Some people ask about 7-day averages, for example. One of the things about 7-day averages, one of the things that I have found the majority of states use what we call as a Saturday rule. And what that means is there's a Saturday in the month, it will use that entire week. So you can go and you can set up calculations for that. You can then say the pounds per day loading, what that permit limit is, what the units are, what you're doing. So we're doing a weekly average, for example. But we go down through and it's the same process over and over again. The idea, like I said, is to make this match what is you have in your NetDMR record. Okay. Because if you have match this and you have everything here, this is what the program, when you create the file and you upload this file, this is what is important to see. Okay. So in this case here, we didn't have a weekly average. So I'm going to go in and we'll just go ahead and put this in here. The monthly average and the daily max for those. So we'll just go in and again, I'm going to just delete this out because we really didn't need that. So we'll go over to monthly average and we're going to do this. The monthly average permit limit is 30. This is why this here is also one of the reasons why you need to make it match, because if you have seasonal limits, for example, I know some of the ones that are in the upper part of the state country, us up north, us northerners, we have seasonal specific. So our ammonias may be different in the summer than they are in the winter. Um, uh, Dissolved oxygen is another thing. Ours are different in the summer than they are in the winter. So you want to make sure you're using that type of scenario to make that work. Okay. And we're going to do a daily max here because that's what we have one of those in here. And daily max. Where's that? And we have that. Again, we'll set our units. These are going to be milligrams per liter, so they'll be 19. Again, fills in the electronic reporting area. And we do based on the report again. And again, we're looking at what they have here. We have to do three per week, and they're a composite. So we can come in here and we go and we find, where's that, 3 per week. And again, this is, whoops, did 4 instead of 3. The thing here is this is a setup, a one-time setup. This isn't something you have to do every week or every month. You get this, you have it set up, then you're able to go and grab the things that you need. So we're going to do a 24-hour composite, and this one is done. So I'm not going to go any further on how to set up each row, but this is the process in which you take. And again, the key parts, if you have DMRs already set up, the sample, anything that is electronic is what is mandatory to be set up. All right. So keep that in mind. This is what you will be doing, and you'll take it off that report of record. All right. So let's say we have this one done. We have the NetDMR. We're having this set up, and we can do two things. Okay. So when we save this and we have it done, and we have that added to our list, our report list. Now, if you have multiple months, okay, so let's say you have your NetDMR, it's good for like January through June. I'm just giving you it out there. And you have to have a second one set up because the limits are different July through December. One of the things that you can do then is you can actually go in and take the NetDMR, and if all it is changing limits or maybe adding a couple parameters, deleting them, you can always go and you can add a duplicate. Okay. By duplicating the report, what it does is it puts everything in there, everything you had in there. Then you can just go make all your changes that you need to make. It saves you having to reset them all up. All right. Another thing, if you are you've had a state where you've done things a little bit where you've had multiple, there are ways of merging it, merging the reports together. Just get with us, call our tech support number at the 800 number, and we can walk you through on how to merge reports together so it's one big report instead of 5 or 6 different pages. Okay, but that is doable, and so it can be done. So once we have the report set up, all right, one of the things you're going to do is, and one of the things I kind of recommend, and this kind of goes a little bit different than what we usually do, but it does come into play with the NetDMR. One of the things that I like to do is I like to take this list here that I have on my NetDMR, the stuff that I'm reporting, and even if you're not using NetDMR, this is something that I like to do anyway, just because it makes it easier for me. Is what I like to do is I like to set up a data view for just my DMR data. Okay. One of the reasons I like to do that is I can then look at that data view. And by looking at that data view, I can tell right away if I have all the data that I need. Okay. So again, you can go into a data view, you can set them up. And again, I just set up a few of the parameters that are in that list and I can look for them. All right. So I can look at the data and I can see what data do I have there. Usually what I like to do down at the bottom is my summaries. I like to kind of put everything that I can that I'm reporting for, so I know that they average max. Um, uh, Max and min on the pHs, the BODs, and whatever I'm reporting. This is what I want to put down, and I want to put that in the summaries. And this here allows me then, by doing that, I can look at my NetDMR and I can go, oh, well, this is correct. And what allows us to make sure that our data is there. Like I said, I like to do this on any DMR reporting. I do this for a lot of our clients. When we do setups for them, I usually have a data view that is just DMR data. Because then if there's a question of, well, I don't think that's right, I can always go look at the data and I can see, am I correct? Is that information correct? And again, if you want to find more information about setting up new data views, you can go to our knowledge base stuff on our website. Give us a call. We can walk you through some stuff as well on that from doing that. But by having this information here, this then allows us to go in and look at the data and being able to make sure we have all our data there. Now, so we've now got our NetDMR set up. All right. We now have a data view, so we can kind of compare the data. We make sure it works well. So when we're in the report section and we're in here in reports, one of the things that you can do, and again, if you have multiple months, maybe your DMRs are months. I've seen a couple of states where they have different permit limits pretty much every month, especially when it comes to ammonia. I think Illinois, I ran into that in Illinois where they had their ammonia was actually different. I ran into a client that their ammonias were actually different for every single month. So in that case, you would have 12 DMR pages because you would have 12 different ones because of the ammonia limit. Again, like I mentioned, just by doing a duplicate, you can then go in and change it and just make changes and save it with a different name. One of the things that I like to do in that case is instead of having when you produce a report to be submitted, what I like to do is recreate report sets. Okay. What report sets do is it allows you to go and say what reports I'm reporting for that month. All right. Now, here in Ohio, we don't, again, we're not doing NetDMR, but this allows us to go in and I can set up report sets for each month. So kind of dummies it down. I guess look at it that way. I know if it's January, I can click on January and it has all the reports I need. Report sets are just a matter of in here in your report section, you can add a report set. So we can call it for NetDMR. NetDMR, I can say what reports I'm grabbing. Okay. So I can then go in and I can grab this here. This will show you a list of all my reports that I have. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the one that we just created, and then we can save it. So then we have a report set here for NetDMR. So when you have a report set up, and again, I'm going to give you one more added little tip. A lot of times to do your reports, you have to go into the report section, come in here, grab this. Well, one of the things that you're able to do is you can actually go in here on your desktop by left clicking, dragging, create a box, and you can create a hotspot to that NetDMR. You can do this for anything that's in reports. So you just go into the report set and you pick what you're wanting. It's going to give you a list. Again, we're just going to go find the NetDMR one that I just set up, and I can hit OK, and it puts a shortcut right there. It saves it right there on your dashboard, so you don't ever have to go into reports to do that. We found some clients that didn't even know that that existed, and it's just something that's a real neat feature. Again, just to make things work well. But once you have your reports set up, all right, and you have all your reports set up that you're wanting to do, you can come in here and you can run your support, produce your report. And when it goes and it prompts you for the date, I'm going to show you a couple of tips, even if you aren't doing NetDMR, but just in reporting in general. You do not have to pick a date from the calendar. If you want to, you can come in here and you can pick your date. All you technically have to do is enter the month and year. Okay, 2-digit month, 2-digit year. So 2222, because this is where I have data at. So I'm going to do that. When you do that and you hit tab, what it does is it highlights the fetch data. You click on that. When it says OK under your status, then you are able to print it. All right. This date that comes up for a print date for a date, it is not the end of the month. Okay. You don't have to select the end of the month. So it's like from February 1st to end of February. You don't have to do that. That's not what this date is. What this date is actually the print date. So if you print a copy of the DMR, they're down at the signature, is a date field down there. That's basically what this date is. That is the date that you actually printed the report. Okay. So you can always just hit default because it's the day you're doing it. Always defaults to the current date. So when you do that, and again, I'm printing the report so you can get an idea of what the report looks like. You can preview it, hit start. This is the report. This is what we set up on the report. Okay. This is all that information. Let me zoom in here a little bit so you get a better idea. If everything up the top was filled in, that would all be there. So we have our 001 and our permit number and all that information would be there. But then as you look at the report itself, it's looking at all the information that we had. Okay. And it puts everything in there of what we need. If you have excursions, those would actually show up. So basically, if you are over under your limit, whatever your limit is, that would show up automatically. That is also a key field because that also shows up on the NetDMR file as well. Then you have your frequencies and your sample type. The idea is this can give you a way of copying. So instead of downloading and printing this out or saving this, you can just print out the report if you want. If you want a hard copy, you can do that. Now, the next step is that we give you, and this is part of the NetDMR setup, is we can do export. Okay, so when we export the file, what it does is it goes and we hit export. It will create a file that is suitable to be uploaded in the NetDMR system. Now, where does that file get saved? Well, it actually gets saved in your storage path, which is set up in part of the setup of the Operator 10 program. But we do give you a link right here that you can just click on. It'll open your File Explorer, and you can go and it will open that up, and it takes you right to the export file. All right. So when we go and we create that file, and we create the file, it is going to create a file, and this would be the file that in your NetDMR system, when you're running things through, what it does is there is an option when you're creating your reports in NetDMR to upload a file. Okay, this would be the file that you need to go grab to upload. All right, so in this case here, I've got my NetDMR one that I just did. So to see what's in here, what this file looks like, looks like a bunch of gibberish is what it looks like. But in reality, it shows everything, and these are why those things are important. So one of the first things I said, the first two things I said that are important, your permit number and your outfall. Permit number, outfall, outfall. So that's why those are important. These are our dates. This is our date in which values take place. It always shows the end of the month in here because it's for the entire month. This is our permit number. This is our parameter number. Remember how we define that parameter number. What is our ID? Again, we're looking at all this information right here. So we have our parameter number. We have this number here. What's this one? Don't remember what this one is. But then it shows you what the value is. There's a bunch of blank spaces in here because you're not using, and this all gets placed where it is depending on what type it is. All right. This is information that they've set up. This formatting that you show up at the top is what is required by the NetDMR system. So we've built that into the information. Okay. So this is what we're reporting. This is our units code that I was telling you about. In this case, on million gallons a day, it's 03. Our sampling and how we're doing it, our sample type, how we're doing it. That is done for each row. So the next one is BOD, the values, the units, if there's any excursions, exceedances, frequency, and type. That is what gets done. So this is put together for every row you have on your DMR. So if you have 15 rows on your DMR, you'll have 15 columns right here, 15 rows right here. And this puts all the information together. So when you get to the NetDMR section, you're going to go, and when it asks you to upload, it will go and you'll find it. What it does is it puts all that information that we just gave you right into your report. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're still going to verify it. Did everything come across right? Are my values correct? Am I using the right report? Did we grab the right report to begin with? Is anything missing? If everything is set properly, so if we go in and we look at that report, and we're in the report setup, and we have that information set up correctly. So again, if we have all this information set up correctly, so like I said, that's in this reporting electronically, it will work properly. Okay. And this is why it is critical that this on all these are done completely. Okay. So once you have it, you go and you verify it and you submit it on the NetDMR, you're good to go. All right. Now, what does this all do for you? Well, it can save you a lot of typing. We did this, we found a client that they found out that we did the NetDMR through some training that we did. We set theirs up. They went from an hour and a half of doing their DMRs every month to like 5 minutes. So it saves you time, makes it a lot easier, um, and just gives you that overall the functionality of what is allowed with NetDMR in Operator 10. Um, so again, if you are using NetDMR, now if you are in a state that is not doing NetDMR, for example, South Carolina, uh, one of the things I have found out, we had one of our clients check for me, they are going to be going to NetDMR. They don't have a time frame on it. When that happens, um, we can work with you on getting the reports converted over to the NetDMR. Not a real big issue, but I mean that is something that if your state is not doing it, example California, for example, they do not do NetDMR, at least as of yet. Not saying they won't ever. A lot of states do a NetDMR. Connecticut's a good example. They do a NetDMR, but they also have a state report that they have to submit. It's an EDMR that they have to submit. So those are two different reports submitted for state, but two different ways. So they're using both. Us here in Ohio, we don't use it. Um, we're kind of way behind the times here in Ohio, but that's just the way our state works and how they want to see the data and what they want to see. Uh, the function of the report, if you find you are in NetDMR and you want some help with that, we can give you a little tutorial, maybe give you some little hints on getting it started. If you don't feel like you want to set that up, we have options for doing that for you. One of our things that we can do is we can offer a setup, and it'd be a quoted price. What we would do is we'd take a copy of your database, we would set up the NetDMRs for you, and then we would connect up to you and give you those NetDMR files. So they would all be set up. Um, but that's something we can do. If you're interested in that, get a hold of your sales rep, and they can talk to them, or you can contact me too. That's fine as well. And we can go in and we can work with you on getting that up, do any training that we need to do to get you that point. But if you're going to get started, number one key um, is get a copy of copy of record, because one of the things I have found, and this is something that I have found even in non-net DMR people, what they have here is what we call gospel. This is the important stuff. This is what the state is expecting. Whether you got it on your permit or not, this is what they're expecting. So we need to make it so it matches what we have in the NetDMR file. If everything is set up correctly and you go to upload it, you will have no issues. If you do run into an issue, say there's a parameter number wrong or something is wrong, you will get an error message. The error messages that you do get from NetDMR system are very detailed, very easy to fix. But one of the things I found, if you set all the NetDMR settings correctly according to this, I have not had any of them that have failed. Okay. If you're wanting to test them before you go live with it, you can work with the NetDMR system. They will give you a temporary code that allows you to temporarily upgrade them so you can test them. You just contact them and say, hey, I want to get stuff set up for NetDMR. We're going to be importing it. I want to make sure it's correct, but I don't want it to affect my real data. Okay. They're more than happy to work with you on that. We've done that with a couple clients that we've done setups for. We've done it for them, so we have our own, so we can do that. So that is the general gist of NetDMR in Operator 10. If you have more detailed questions or you would like us to go and do the work for you to get them set up or to help you verify that everything is set up correctly, feel free to get a hold of us. You can get a hold of our tech support department at the 800 number, and you can get a hold of us and we would be more than happy to do it. If you want some more detailed training on NetDMR setup or the program in a whole, again, get a hold of your sales rep. They can tell you what's available. We have on-site training, we have online training that we would be able to more than welcome to do that for you. And then it gives you that little bit more peace of mind of understanding it. Now, with that being said, here are some things to come. Everybody always asks us, well, what are we doing? What are we doing with our software products? What are we doing? What things are coming down the pipeline, I guess to say for the most part. Well, first of all, the first thing I want to talk to you about is, and I don't know if some of you have it or not, but the Antero program that we have. This is our first big update that we have coming up here in July, I guess next month is what, by the end of next month. What we are going to be doing is a mobile, I guess, call it work order in the field as well. It's a mobile app that will be available. It'll be an add-on feature that there will be a way that you will be able to go and take your work orders, send them to a mobile device. It'll be a web-based type scenario. At that point, you will be able to go in the field. They'll be able to complete the work orders. They'll be able to see what work orders are available. Once they have them completed, it flags them a certain way. So when you get back, you can go, there will be a sync process. It'll sync it back to the program and it'll change the status, put them into review or something like that. But that's something that it is to be released by the end of next month, end of July. So that's one thing that's coming. Now, from the Operator 10 side, and this would be for water, for wastewater, for Synexus, all three programs. By fall of this year, we are going to be developing a mobile data entry. Okay, it's basically, I call it data views on the go. You'll be able to set up a data view. There'll be a way then that you will be able to put it at the mobile. You'll be able to go in. They can enter data in the field. So if you're doing your plant rounds, they can go in and enter all their values as they're doing the plant rounds. When they get back, it'll connect and it'll sync back to the database. The data will be put back in. Very interesting feature that is coming. That's something that's been long awaited. This also works very well then. Also, if you're at, maybe you're doing some background sampling in the field and you got pHs and DOs and things that you're pulling right then, you can go ahead and put it in. When you get back, it automatically puts it back into the database. Again, that is coming out for operations. It's going to be fall of this year is what we're looking at. Probably into the fall, they've started working on that. But look for the Antero update that will come out. I'm sure we'll be putting an email blast out for that so that you will have that information available and you will be able to go and you will get to that. Another thing that I wanted to mention is if you are on our website, and I don't know if you have done this yet, but something that I would suggest is coming out here if you can and under the Get Support tab. When you hit Get Support, there is an item out here. It's called Customer Portal. Okay, sign up for the Customer Portal. What that does is it's going to give you access to our tech support. So if you have tickets available with us, you'll be able to go and see what's the status of tickets. So if there's any open customer tickets with us, you can take a look at that. We're also going to be adding additional information in there that will be for customer related information, but this is where you would be able to go and you can get a little bit direct contact. So keep that in mind and look at that from that standpoint. Also on our website, if you have, you guys obviously have the wastewater program right now, but let's say you want to look at Antero or you want to look at Synexus, the pre-treatment program, come up here and hit a book a demo. Fill out the information. This will go to the account managers and we will schedule a demo with you right away, okay, as soon as possible. Usually the demos are 45 minutes to an hour. and we'll go through the features and the functionality of the program. So that is something that you can get for new things on the website. Another thing that we have on the website, and again, if you haven't been to our website a while, we're going to be adding some more changes and stuff. But another thing we have is a live chat. So if you've got a question, you just kind of want to you don't want to call, but you want to just find out real quick, you can come in here to the live chat, write a little message. Believe me, you will get a live person. The first couple questions out of the box will be generated automatically, but that just gives us time to connect up. All right, so keep that in mind as well as you go in and you're able to go in and grab that information. Okay, because we want you to go in and have that there. We want you to be able to see that, be able to help us out with that. Well, with that being said, we would like you to share your thoughts. We're always looking for feedback on what we do with our webinars, even future topics. What are something that you would like to see? Maybe you want to see a topic on formulas or charts or something like that. Make sure you fill out the response. You'll receive an email here with a form out. Please fill that out. Give your thoughts. How good did I do? Whatever things. Feel free to fill that out. If you have any other additional things, just send us an email. You can contact, if you have my email directly, feel free to email me or fill out the form on the website. It will get to me as well if you want that way. So with that, I would like to say thank you for attending today. Thank you for taking the time out, learning a little bit about NetDMR and how our reporting works for you. Again, if you have questions, feel free to give us a call. Anything we can do for you, contact us at the 800 number or by email. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a great day, great weekend, and great holiday week coming up. So we will talk to you later. Thank you.